Zelda has been around for over 35 years. Originally debuting on the Nintendo Entertainment System in Japan in 1986, it launches a bold and large take on the adventure genre, perfectly encapsulating what it meant to go on such large-scale quests. You tackled dungeons, you got heart containers to grow stronger, and you found many of the now iconic weapons still found in the series today. Shout out to our last video over the underutilized items of the Zelda series. Go check that video out after you finish this video. All this is to say that Legend of Zelda 1 laid the blueprint for how to do a perfect Zelda game. All the team had to do was update the graphics and the game design with each installment, and boom! You've got a legendary franchise on your hands. Just look at sequels like Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time that are revered as some of the greatest games not only on their respective consoles, but of all time. So with all that said, what could go wrong over the course of that 35 plus years? Well, as you'll see today, a lot. We're looking at the times Zelda releases didn't quite hit the mark. Here we go, guys. Today we're tackling the most controversial Zelda titles. Starting us off at number 5 is Breath of the Wild. And honestly, I feel like this game has been retroactively controversial. Sure, there was a lot of excitement and suspense building up to its release, and I think that was aided due to Nintendo launching a new console at the time, the Nintendo Switch. Development took 5 years following the release of Skyward Sword on the Wii. Breath of the Wild was originally designed for the Wii U and was going to be its last major release. However, as we discussed, it also came out as a launch title for the Switch. So it was a swan song for one console, but a triumphant birth for another. Still, Breath of the Wild was touted as breaking away from the traditional Zelda formula. It was open world and non-linear, almost harkening back to the days of the original Zelda on NES. The Switch was also reported to be returning to cartridges over the much preferred Blu-ray disc. Gamers were happy, free, confused, and lonely at the same time. Breath of the Wild was a breath of fresh air to many Wii U and Switch owners. It spawned its own sub-genre of games, trying to rip it off or at least take heavy influence from it. Tears of the Kingdom would drop as a sequel almost a decade later, with the Zelda team saying this was essentially the new Zelda formula. It left many players reminiscing about the old Zelda, and players got fatigued with the new style. Even though Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are both critically acclaimed, I think old school players are scared that the days of Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time are simply dead. Number 4, Majora's Mask. This one's going to be a mixed bag. You're going to follow up one of, if not the greatest games of all time. That's a tough one for any game to do. I actually respect the heck out of what the team tried to accomplish and what they created, but Majora's Mask just isn't for me. I don't like the gloomy overtones, the 3-day cycle, the design philosophy of the game in general. Now, that's also what makes it stand out. You either really love this game or you just don't care for it, and it's wedged between Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time on one side and Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the other side. It definitely stands out with the design choice and all the masks having their own abilities. But to me, the hilarious part is that Majora's Mask got a remake on 3DS, and I really enjoyed it. In my opinion, it fixes a lot of what I don't like about the N64 version. A lot of that does have to do with the handbook aiding in the side quest, as well as the ability to save being a whole lot easier now. Not to mention on the 3DS, you can just close the system. Yet, a lot of the N64 truthers don't like the remake, meaning one way or the other, you probably really enjoy one version of this game and have disdain for the other, which is pretty interesting and in my opinion, adds it firmly on the list of controversial releases. Now remember, if you're liking this list, subscribe for more top 5 and discussions, and leave video ideas in the comments for videos you'd like to see in the future. Number 3, Skyward Sword. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I've never met another Zelda fan who says Skyward Sword is their favorite Zelda game. In my opinion, being stuck on the Wii just didn't help it. It was locked behind motion controls. I remember popping this bad boy in back in the day, only to be denied access to playing it by the Wii itself, because I didn't have the Motion Plus feature in my Wiimotes. I eventually played it on the Switch, and honestly guys, I enjoy it a lot on the Switch. I've never played the Wii version, but it does feel like more people complain than praise it. The Switch version is pretty good if you can find a copy. It's worth noting this is the last of the traditional formula Zelda games, and as a result, I think in time this game might develop a cult following. Alright, coming in at number 2 is Zelda 2, Link's Adventures. Zelda 2 struggles from being a Zelda game. Almost anybody's argument who defends the game starts with, well, if this wasn't a Zelda game, people would love it. Maybe, but that's part of what lands you on a list as controversial Zelda releases, and this high at that. On one hand, Zelda wasn't exactly an established property at this point. Zelda had only been out for about a year or so by the time we got the sequel, Link's Adventures. But it did bring back exploration, dungeons, and sword-based combat. A lot of familiarity tropes are here. However, what really lands it on this list, the gameplay is now side-scrolling. It was a RPG now, and the overworld is just weird. I mean, you use experience to level up. Very different than anything we've seen before or since, really. There's no way you played this and then this and was excited about it. Talk about breaking away from the Zelda formula, am I right? Honestly, if Zelda had been a more established IP at this point and they did something as wild as Zelda 2, this might have got put at number 1. As it stands, there's one Zelda game that's released was more perplexing, disappointing, and controversial than all the rest. And that game was... Real quick, before we reveal number 1, be on the lookout for polls. That's right, guys, I ask polls about future top 5s and video topics, and a whole host of things that you guys can actually help sway either where items or power-ups fall in these videos, or video topics in general that we cover. So, guys, make sure you're subscribed and be on the lookout for polls so that you can have a say in the channel. Now, on to number 1. That's right, it's Wind Waker. Majora's Mask may have had a hard time following up Ocarina of Time, but Wind Waker is the red-headed stepchild of Zelda games. The tone on the N64 was dark, gritty, and mature, whether you're looking at Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, really. So, that begs the question, what the heck is this? Wind Waker changed the tone up completely, dropping dark color palettes for bright, vibrant beach aesthetics, large sprawling fields conquered by horseback now replaced by never-ending, overbearing sea traversal. Not to mention, it has got to be one of the weirder looks for Ganon. Now, it's worth noting Wind Waker came out in a time in my life where I didn't mind the art style. I was just a kid when Wind Waker came out. However, in hindsight, I can really see people feeling bamboozled, especially after the now infamous GameCube trailer. Nintendo was finally embracing disc-based formats. People were beyond thrilled to see what the Zelda team would cook up for the new hardware, and the tech demo gave every fan's hope that they were getting the next epic in the Zelda franchise. This is to say nothing of people's theories of cut content and empty space in Wind Waker. This entry has everything to do with the tonal shift and misdirection of the tech demo. That alone has Wind Waker firmly in the lead for the most controversial entry in the series. What's that? Oh, I forgot a game? Oh. Those games. Okay, guys, you ever make a top 5, you write out your script, you plan the whole video, and then you completely forget that a game existed? That's right, we're adding a new number 1, and boy howdy, it's a doozy. Mostly because it's a threefer. Zelda on CDI.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
My boy.
I just wonder what Ganon's up to.
Only Link can defeat Ganon.
Great, I'll grab my stuff. How about a kiss, for luck?
You've got to be kidding.
I've convinced myself that Philips CDI is a fever dream. I mean, just look at these graphics. That's probably why I tried to suppress these games. Yeah, somebody cooked these games up, and God bless them. Zelda got a grand spanking 3 shots on the CDI, featuring questionable cutscenes, a return to 2D side-scrolling graphics, and lacking any Nintendo quality. These jokers have got to be the most notorious Nintendo games ever. I won't bother recapping Nintendo's fallout with Sony and the disastrous relationship with Philips. Yes, it is truly one of the most industry-changing of all time. And all we have to show for it is this.
Lucky shot! Golly!
Okay, so now that's officially the list. I'm sure a lot of you guys either completely forgot the CDI games existed or fully expected them to be number 1. It kind of feels weird talking about them. I'm pretty sure most people, when they do their rankings for Zelda videos, probably don't even really mention them. And I can honestly say I've never played them. I've never seen them in the wild. My only real knowledge of them is through YouTube videos. So I'm not really one to speak on them, but I'm pretty sure we can all unanimously agree if we're talking controversial Zelda, it's gotta be the CDI releases, right? I mean, Wind Waker would probably get it for like the main, can we call it canon series? I don't know. You know, Wind Waker, just the tonal shift, again, the tech demo, I think, is really what solidified it and what caused the outrage to get something like Twilight Princess, a return to more dark and gritty. You know, I think Twilight Princess can kind of be a mixed bag as well, but I think if you were one of those people that felt jaded by Wind Waker, you were probably thrilled to have Twilight Princess. I actually think they're a very interesting juxtaposition on the GameCube's library is Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, and honestly, I prefer both of the Wii U releases as opposed to the GameCube releases, but there's no doubt I logged my fair share of time into the GameCube Zelda games. But even I can't deny Wind Waker, just the historic nature of going from Majora's Mask, 3-day cycle, the world is falling, not the world, the moon is falling, the world is ending, you get to see these people's last days, and then the tech demo, it's like, okay, Wind Waker, okay, sure, yeah, okay, whatever. So let me know, guys, in your opinion, what are the most controversial Zelda releases? We didn't really touch on handhelds, but then again, I don't really think the handheld games are very controversial. I think they're mostly good. I don't know, is Oracle of Ages and Seasons worth talking about? Were people upset with the 2 release model like Pokemon? I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think down below. But alright guys, that's going to do it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.